Welcome to the TLI workshop on active trust. My name is Abhijit Joshi. I'm your host for tonight. Before I introduce today's speaker, let me acknowledge the contribution of Maithili Prabhu, the event manager, Ines Benshek, the PR manager, Tech Gurus, Cedric De Brito, Nishant Chandrasekhar. Our today's speaker, Kari Lynn Morgan, is a relationship and communications coach. Her purpose in life is to bring more connection to the world through honesty and trust. She does not shy away from difficult conversations and encourages those she works with to be as truthful and open as possible. She has facilitated many workshops, lectures, and retreats for last 7 years. Let me welcome our today's speaker, Kari Lynn Morgan.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Abhijit. That was wonderful. I am so excited to be here today, you guys. I want to, I'm going to do this one thing with my hair and then I'm going to stop playing with it. I forget I'm at Toastmasters. You guys are all looking at all of those things. But I was asked to do this workshop. And as Abhijit said, I'm a relationship and communication coach. I work primarily with couples who are on their second time around relationships, couples where one or both of them have been married before and they are now divorced and in another relationship, another serious relationship, and find that they're doing the same things as they were in their previous relationship and have a realization that, oh, it might be something that I'm doing. And I want to look at that and do that differently. So that's who I primarily work with. But in that work, there are some really common basic truths and skills that are universal to every relationship. Things like knowing what you want and asking for it, being able to give what you give, but also receive well from your partner or from the other person that you are talking to. And we are talking intimate relationships, we're talking business relationships, we're talking parent-child relationships, friendships, any sort of relationship that requires communication and trust and openness. Because my ultimate goal is to have people be more connected, and I use the word vulnerable, because vulnerability, I don't mean that as weakness. A lot of people think vulnerability means weakness, but it doesn't. Vulnerability just means not putting up armor, not putting up your guard, not putting up something that disconnects you from other people. We have to be willing to let our guard down in order to be, I will say, penetrated by other people, by their love, by their strength, by their commitment, by their joy. We have to be able to be open to that. And in order to do that, when we do that, we're also open to their anger and their mistrust and all of the things that they need to work on, that they project onto us. And so that brings me to this workshop, which I find, I think we learn from a really early age to put up that armor because we don't want to get hurt. So I'm going to ask tonight that those of you that can, please put your video on. because this is going to be an interactive workshop. I work with people. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to ask you to raise your hands. I'm going to encourage you to ask questions whenever you have them. I have, you know, a little presentation that I've prepared, things that we can talk about. But again, I'm a coach. And so what I do best is listen to what people want to talk about. I listen to what's up for them. And I am perfectly happy to just sit here and answer questions all night, because I can guarantee everybody will get something from a question that you ask. That is one of the beautiful things about community and doing work together. So you can also, if you want to ask a question anonymously, Cedric will be monitoring the chat, and you can type in a question to Cedric and tell him you want it to be anonymous, if you do, and he'll get my attention and he'll ask a question and I can just answer it in general. But I also want to encourage you, I think all of you should have the ability to unmute yourselves. Go ahead and unmute yourselves and ask me a question, you know, wave your hand, try to get my attention. Cedric's also going to be monitoring for, in case I don't see you, because I can only see one page of people. But this is going to be a really relaxed presentation, really relaxed hour. And so I encourage you guys to participate at the level that you're comfortable with. So I want to start by asking, how many of you consider yourselves trusting people? Consider yourself a trusting person? I'm a trusting person. Okay. I see a few hands. Yeah, almost everybody actually. That's interesting. How many of you trust everything you see on Facebook? That's good. If anybody raised their hand, I'd be really, really worried. That's not the kind of trust we're talking about. We're not talking about, you know, listening and believing everything that we hear. What we are talking about is a trust, as I said before, a vulnerability. That's what I consider trust. Being able to open yourself up to both love, joy, happiness, the things that we are most willing to open ourselves up to, but to stay open when you get hit with something that doesn't feel good. A barb, someone's mistake, because we're human. We start really early with the armor, putting the armor on. And we start with the story and the narrative that once we have the armor on, that people have to prove to us that they won't hurt us again before we'll take the armor back off. That's what I call active or passive trust, where we make other people do something before we are willing to change ourselves. Yeah, Cedric.
Kari Lynn, so there's a question that came up, an anonymous question. Yeah. So it is about somebody who would like, so their girlfriend or partner wants to build trust, basically. And this person doesn't really understand what that means or what that involves. Could you touch on that, please?
So their partner wants to build trust.
Right.
Wants to learn to trust them. Okay. And they don't know how to do that, how to make their trust.
Right. How to get there. What does it mean? What does it imply, I suppose?
So see if that, I just want to make sure I get the question right. Trust you. That answer, quick answer to that is you trust them. You trust them first. This is the whole point of this. We have this idea, again, that the other people have to do something before we will take off our armor, before we will trust them. That's the story we grow up with. And I'll tell you a personal story for me. So when I was in 9th or 10th grade or something like that, you know, I had these patterns already with my parents. And I was on the swim team and I hated it. It was terrible. I didn't like it. And after one season, I think on the swim team, towards the end of the season, I didn't want to be on it anymore. But I was afraid to tell my parents because, you know, my parents wanted me to be on the swim team. They thought it was a great idea. And instead of telling them I didn't want to be on the swim team because I didn't trust that their reaction would be okay, I was guarded. I was scared. I was afraid that they would be, you know, the way that it would hurt me is they would be disappointed in me. That would hurt. And so I lied to them. That was my armor. I lied to them one day and went to a friend's house instead of practice and told them that I went to practice. Of course, you know, parents are smart. I'm a parent. I have 3 kids now. You know, parents know when their kids are lying to them, and I was not a good liar. And so they knew. They went and picked up, you know, went at the end of practice and to pick me up, and I wasn't there and they knew it. And so when I went home, you know, my dad confronted me about this, and he said something that proved my story that I needed to keep the armor up, which is what he said is, you're going to have to earn my trust back. And it was the worst thing he could have said to me, because I love my father. I was his tomboy. I was his favorite. My sister knows this already. And it hurt a lot. It hurt a lot. And I was, let's say 15 at the time. And that is not a great time to be building up armor between parent and child. And it started this spiral with him around my relationship with him. And it took us a long time to get back to a place where we trusted each other. And at the time, I didn't know that that was like the moment. But I look back on it now, and what I could have done if I knew then what I know now. It's a phrase that we all probably say so much. If I knew at 15 what I know at 45, what I could have said to him was simply the truth of, Dad, I know this might disappoint you, and I'm sorry for that, but I don't want to be on the swim team anymore. And just to sit in that place and hope that he could find some place where he wants to stay connected with me. Now, you know, sometimes the person you're sitting across from has done that work, and often they haven't. And so they're going to have their reaction. And again, at 45, I can sit there. I have this conversation with him sometimes. This is how I've healed this with him. He's not around anymore, but I have this conversation in my head. I play this out, and I play it out all different ways. And I have a practice of, when I say this to him, I do all the different things. I will play it out where I brace myself for what's coming and protect myself. I will play it out where I get hurt and then I hit back. You know, I will play it out where I stay open and it hurts. You know, I say the thing, I stay open and it hurts and I crawl into my shell. But the one that I know will will provide the most connection and ability to have the relationship with my dad that I wanted, is to say the truth and then accept his reaction and his response to me. And then to say the truth again, which is, that hurt. And I trust that you want to keep a relationship with me. I trust that you don't want to hurt me. I trust that the next time we have this kind of conversation, it can be different. And it may or may not. But just that very exercise makes me closer to him. Alive or dead, it doesn't matter. Just that very exercise allows the connection to stay. And he doesn't have to do anything different. The other person doesn't have to do anything different, but our relationship is changed simply because I was willing to stand in a place of believing that they also want something different. Are there any questions?
All right. Yeah, actually, there is a follow-up question from someone else that is about what you've been talking about. So that would be another anonymous question. How do you balance the trust with the reason? Because sometimes trusting someone can be risky. And the example given is the decision to move in with someone can result in a bunch of financial consequences. So how do you balance these two?
Right. I don't know that you're going to like my answer. You know, sometimes we just mess up. Sadly. I honestly, sad to say, I don't have a good answer to that because we're humans. We're humans. And I mean, I have, oh man. Yeah, that one right there. Yeah, I've made some really bad relationship choices that, yeah, financially were terrible. I moved a guy in with me and, you know, paid his rent and bought him computers and, you know, video equipment. And I did all of these. I supported this guy for like a year and could never tell him to leave. And I trust, and it was out of a naive trust. Like, it wasn't from this place of active trust, really, that what I'm calling here. It wasn't from a place of, I am choosing to stand on my feet. I am choosing to let my guard down. That was actually from a place of, I was scared, and a place of, I was worried that he'd go away if I didn't do this. And I justified it with, I'm trusting you. I'm trusting that everything's going to be okay. So you have to be really careful about that. I mean, I also think we are smart people. And if you have doubts about your financial situation with a person, you should be talking to them. And if you can't talk to them about it, then I would consider that relationship. That's, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So there is a hand up from Lisa.
Lisa.
Would we like to give her?
Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
Feel free to unmute yourself.
Hi, thanks. So my mom used to always say to me that if you don't trust people, it's because you're not trustworthy. What's your take on that?
Because you're not trustworthy.
Yourself.
Yeah, yeah, no, I understand. I've heard that too. And I see it more as so let me make sure. So if you don't trust people, you're not trustworthy. Is that correct?
You yourself aren't trustworthy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of in a way, it's the same thing, because what people actually trust is vulnerability. What people actually trust is someone being willing to put themselves out there and stay connected. And so if you don't trust people, you by yourself are cutting off that connection. You're cutting the line right there. And so if you cut the line with someone, how are they supposed to trust you? Unless they are also practicing this active trust. I mean, sure, they can be doing the same thing. This is, so one of the things I have on my little list of things to talk about is the difference between passive trust and active trust. Passive trust, this guarded trust, is the relationship is guarded. And either person can open it up. So what I'd say, if I don't trust people, I am not trustworthy. I think that's true. I actually really think that's true. Yeah. Because let's say I choose not to trust you for whatever reason, whatever, you put some post on Facebook that I didn't like. We'll just go back to Facebook because Facebook is a mess right now. So, so you put some post on Facebook. I don't know you, but I'm going to decide I don't like you. So yeah, why would you trust me for that? But if you put a post on Facebook that I don't like, and I say, hey, wow, Lisa posted this thing that I don't agree with, but I'm willing to hear her side. I'm willing to, I don't even have to agree with it ever. I don't have to believe it, but I'm willing to believe that she believes it. That's going to feel very different to you than me just saying, you're full of, I'm a swearer, so I will try not to swear because I know some people don't like it. But, that's very different than me just flat out saying, you don't know what you're talking about and I don't trust you and I'll never trust anything you post ever again. Yeah. That answer your question?
Yeah. Oops.
Let's see. I have another one. There's Okay. You untrustworthy person believe that you're capable of doing untrustworthy things, so you don't see why the other person's capable of doing the same. Trust people sometimes when you've had your trust broken. So trust broken, yeah, that's beautiful. That actually brings me to the next thing. When you expect to earn people's trust, when they have to do something to earn your trust back, there's really kind of this phenomenon of they can never fully earn your trust back. There's nothing anybody can do really in most situations to fully earn your trust back, because there will always be that little thing of, well, you did it once, you might be able, you might do it again. And I think that's true. I mean, we're humans, we're flawed. No matter how much personal growth work you do, we make mistakes, and it's really hard to change. It's really hard to change our habits. Sometimes we don't want to. I have some what would be considered bad habits that I don't want to get rid of. I mean, I really don't. I swear, I like that I swear. I don't really have any intention of changing that. And I know that might offend some people, and some people may not like that, and they may think differently of me because of that. And if they are going to make my trustworthiness dependent upon that, then we can never have a connected relationship all the way again. But what can happen is someone can say, wow, she swears and I don't like that. It's offensive to me. My mother sweared and I didn't like it, and it triggers something in me. It makes me really uncomfortable. But I can choose to be uncomfortable there and have a conversation with Kari Lynn. I can choose to tell her how I feel. I can choose to look at the thing that makes me uncomfortable and maybe learn something about myself. And when that happens, then we have a very different relationship. We have a relationship based on what each of us truly are, rather than a relationship based on what you think I am, who you think I am, or who I think you are. I'm doing this right now with a house member of mine. So I live in an intentional community, and our intention together is to say the really hard things to each other. And believe it or not, one of the really hard things is you don't load the dishwasher right. So it's so funny, but I'm telling you, so I am one of those people that believes the dishwasher gets loaded in a certain way, and there is a wrong way to load a dishwasher. And we have a housemate that no matter what, loads the dishwasher wrong. We also have some other problems with this housemate, but it kind of started with the dishwasher. And I will admit that I am holding on to this story about her, that she's loading the dishwasher wrong because she knows it annoys me. Like, that's just what I believe. It's what I believe. It's what I think is happening. And I'll be honest, I have not had the conversation with her. I have not asked her, are you doing this to bug the heck out of me? Are you doing this on purpose? And instead, I'm choosing to continue to mistrust her because I'm human. I mean, I admit this. And that just led to other things of mistrust, because of this story that I have about her, that she's doing it on purpose. And now she will, I don't know, not bring her dishes in, from a spot where she eats. And so I just continue the story of, oh, well, since she doesn't load the dishwasher right and she's doing it on purpose, then she's not bringing her dishes in because she's doing it on purpose. And I am perpetuating this cycle. I fully admit I am perpetuating this cycle of not trusting her. And I'm looking for reasons. And when I'm ready, if I'm ever ready, it really just takes a simple conversation of, hey, I have this story about you. Is it true? And it doesn't matter what her answer is. If she answers me, it actually doesn't even matter if the answer is true or not. If I believe her answer is true, if I accept that she is giving me the truest answer that she can give me, whether it's true or not, then I, by my actions alone, can change that relationship just a little bit. It won't repair it all the way, but I can take that step. And I can then move through the world with one less story about a person, with one less place where I'm putting barbs out, with one more piece of armor off me. And with practice of staying open, because there will be somebody else that I actually want to have a better connection with, and I will have practiced already with this other person. I will have practiced the art of asking, is this true? I want to clear up our relationship. I want to clear up this story. And it'll make it so much easier the next time. So, and that's what I call filling the trust gap, is when you actually take the time to ask a question of a person. Let's see.
I see a little break here, and there is a question that just came in. I haven't read it yet, but give me a second. So when someone lies to you to impress you, and I already know that it's a blatant lie, should I confront them? Is it good to trust them with other things?
I am all for dialogue with people. Because I think what I was just saying before, I think we build up stories about other people when we don't have conversations with them. I have a very active imagination about having conversations with people. You said with my dad, it's the way I work through a lot of my stuff. I posted, oh gosh, I think it was maybe a year or so ago. I did this post on Facebook, and it basically, I had, I was mad at my boyfriend for some reason. I don't even remember what. But I came to him in the afternoon one day, being mad at him. And I said, I've been having a conversation with you in my head, and you're not doing well. And he was just, I mean, he's awesome. He's done a lot of this work too. And he was just like, okay, you know, great. You know, when you want to have the conversation in real life with me, let's do that. And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good where I am. I'm happy being mad at you and you're not doing well and I'm winning the conversation. You know, I'm winning the argument. So, so yes, I am all for, if someone is lying to you, I mean, there are certain ways you can say it to people that are more kind than others. Again, there is a way you can say something to somebody where you are open and kind and honest and vulnerable. And there is a way you can say it where you're, you know, jabbing them with a spear and running away. You know, you can say the same words. Usually they're different words. But with something like that, yeah, I mean, I would say, I love the phrase, I have a story. Because you don't know. Until you ask somebody if it's true, you don't know. So I love the phrase, I have a story that, you know, what you're saying to me isn't quite the truth. Or, you know, I have a story that you're trying to impress me. I have a story that, you know, you don't believe what you're saying. And then tell your truth. You know, what do you want from this person? It's simple as that. I have a story. You know, I have a story that you're not telling me the whole truth. I would like to hear what it is you're actually trying to tell me. Are you willing to do that? 3 sentences. And then see what they say and go from there. But again, I really think trust is about keeping a dialogue open and not going into your own head and not going into your own stories, but keeping a dialogue open. Keep talking, not yelling, not screaming, although I believe in yelling and screaming as well. I really do. You can ask Nancy. You know, as anybody that lives with me, I believe in yelling and screaming. I think it's wonderful. I think it's human. You know, I don't shy away from anger, but there is a way to yell and scream kindly where people can hear you. And there is a way to yell and scream where you are just being mean. And so think about what your intention is behind your dialogue with someone. Is your intention to hurt them and win? Or is your intention to keep the dialogue going? There's a difference.
So there's a question that fits in well in there.
Yeah.
What if there is no shared reality between the two people, between you and the person you're talking to?
Right. Uh-huh. Nancy's laughing at that one. As someone who's done a lot of personal growth work around communication, I would say, then you get to take the position of, I'm going to do this for myself. How can I continue to communicate and practice that? With this person in our house, yeah, we are at this point where, yeah, we have different realities. We have very different realities. And so, yeah, there does come a point. I admit there is a point that I came to this last week where I was like, I'm not trying to stay connected with this person anymore. And I think that's okay too. Like, we don't have to be connected with every single person in the world. That's exhausting and not healthy. And there are people in the world that need to do a lot of work. And so again, it's what do you want out of a relationship with that person? Like, do you want to stay connected? Do you want to simply keep practicing saying things, knowing that they don't share your reality? That's perfectly fine. If you can keep yourself, I would say, safe, that doesn't mean protected, that doesn't mean not getting hurt, but if you can keep yourself safe to where it doesn't damage you to talk to this person, then, and you want to practice that, go for it. And you can take the mindset of, fine, I will continue to engage with you, but it's for me, not for you. That's okay too. And if you want to cut it off with them, then cut it off with them. Like, I am fully, I am not a happy, hippie, hollow, love and light sort of person. As you can see, Ron's laughing. But I do believe in connection. I do believe that we are beings who thrive off of connection. I believe we are community oriented. I believe that we can help each other. I believe that, the world is a better place when we're working together. But I also know that we're humans and we're flawed, and some people are just, I'm going to say it, fucked up. And that's okay. That is okay. And we don't have to be with them. That's okay. We don't have to trust them. But we do have to trust ourselves. So there is a way you can still stay open and stay safe. And if that means walking away from somebody, then you walk away from someone.
Okay, so there's another one that fits kind of well in there too. How do you approach a person when in the past they've become defensive?
Yeah. I would say, that's, you have to be very gentle. It really depends on what your relationship is. Is that an anonymous question? Okay, I wanted to say, if whoever that is wants to give a bit more detail, then we can talk about it a little bit more.
Feel
But
free to unmute yourselves if you want to give more detail.
If you want to, and if not, that's fine. But it's someone who's gotten defensive. So there's a very gentle way you can approach someone who you know is going to get defensive over something that you say. A little trick is, you can start with, I'd like to have a conversation with you. I'd like to talk to you about something. Are you available for that? The very act of getting someone's buy-in to have a conversation allows them to relax a little bit and allows them to drop their shield just a little bit because they're saying yes. Now, the thing is that's hard from the side of wanting to have that conversation and asking for that conversation is you have to be willing to hear their no. You have to be willing to accept their no, I don't want to have this conversation right now. And you have to be willing to genuinely accept that from them because they will know if you don't. If they say, no, I don't, and you go, okay, fine. Or, wow, see, just like you, to never talk. See, you're defensive. So if you do that, you're not building trust. You're not building trust with them. But if you can genuinely ask, so don't ask unless you're willing to hear a no from them. And if you're willing to hear a no and they say no, then you stay open. You say, okay, thank you. Thank you for telling me the truth about where you are. Is it okay if I ask later? Someone who's defensive is going to need a lot of time, probably. And the best thing you can give them is the time to find a yes to the conversation. Because they have to be willing to let down their guard. And you going in with a spear, with a sword is not going to do that. I am one of those people. Like if I'm not ready and you try to force me, and you know, I'm tricky and I'm mean, and you won't win that one. Like I'm really really good at putting that guard up and never having the conversation if if we don't have to. Now, of course, I'm trying to say yes now. You know, my work is to stay open. Someone comes to me and says, hey, I'd like to have a conversation with you. If my initial reaction is no, I don't want to talk to you. If that's my initial reaction and I know I can't have that conversation with them right now, my practice is, no, I can't have that conversation right now. Please ask me later. If I can take it one step further, I hear this is important to you. I'm just not available. I can't do the conversation that you want to have. I want to be open and clear, and I just can't. And hopefully I can say, ask me later. Because what that does for me in my mind is me saying, yes, I will have a conversation. So when they come back, I'm less likely to have some defensiveness to it because I already said, yes, come ask me. And I can't get mad at them if I ask them to ask me again. Like, that's just mean. I mean, I can get mad at them, but it's not how I want to be in the world. So I practice something different.
Yes, there is an infinite number of questions coming.
Okay.
Do you want to keep answering them, or?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
happy to do that. We're good.
Okay, so kind of on the same question as before. So if a person had been defensive, but what if it was about a topic that was already discussed and both you and the other person know that you hold different opinions, and they're defensive they don't want to talk about it again because you're both standing your ground. How do you talk to somebody like that?
Oh, this takes so much work. This takes so much work. This is the sort of stuff I do. What can I give you? So in general, conversation you've already talked about. I would say, So can you read that again? Read that again.
Okay, I paraphrased, but basically it was about having different opinions on finances.
Okay.
So
again, it really depends on your situation. So I'm going to assume your finances are intertwined and you have differing ideas on how to spend your money or how to save your money or where it goes. Wow. Yeah, there's so much there. There's so much there. Okay, here we go. I'll give you one little thing. So you can start a conversation with, I know we have differing opinions on this subject. It can be finances, it can be where to take the dog for a walk, or, you know, whatever. I know we have differing ideas on this. I want to keep the conversation open, and I know it's really hard. If it's a conversation where it's really blown up a lot, I actually suggest that people write things down instead of having the conversation. Because if you've already gotten into a pattern of the conversation is going to lead to yelling, because it always does, then you need to switch up how you have the conversation. So I would suggest you can write it down. You know, each person can write it down, and you can exchange papers. You can do a list of, you know, this is what I want. You can each write out, this is how I see the world if we do it my way. Yeah, I mean, I would say, like, keep it positive. Try to stay away from, if we do it your way, everything's going to go, you know, to kingdom come. But you can just try to have the conversation in a different format rather than talking. But, you know, again, you're still trying to have the dialogue. It's about keep trying to have the dialogue. This is, again, you know, having a mediator or a person, a coach can help. If this is a conversation that really you're really stuck on, then get a third person. You know, get someone to even just observe you. When we're observed, we tend to act differently. So get a trusted friend. If you don't want to hire a coach or a mediator or something like that, if you have a conversation, a tough conversation that you're having problems with, just ask a friend to come watch you have it. I can almost guarantee the conversation is going to be a little different. This person doesn't even have to say anything. Just ask for an observer, just to mix things up a little bit. Again, this is about doing something in a different way than what we are accustomed to doing, because it switches something in our brain, and it allows us to think differently when we do it differently. So those would be some of my suggestions.
All right, so there is an open question about how to start a conversation with a guy in a relationship.
Yeah.
Seems like they do not like to talk and
Right.
freak out once they're asked to have a conversation. And so, yeah, go ahead.
So if they truly are freaking out when they have a conversation and you want to stay with this person, then you can simply go the route of, you know, I'd really like to have a conversation with you. And then you don't even have to make a request. You don't have to do anything else. All you can do is, or one thing you can do is just simply state what you want. And you can say, I'm not making a request. I'm not asking for a conversation. I would just like you to know something about me, which is, I would like to have a conversation with you. And again, you can ask that question of, are you available? Would you like to? And let him say yes or no. But I would suggest that, you know, you keep at it, but again, not in a nagging way. You have to be very careful. You have to be able to accept no. And eventually, hopefully, you know, when people know that we will accept their no, then they're going to be more willing to give us a yes. A genuine yes. Yeah. The opposite is the same thing happens when you have people that always say yes. Then we tend to not trust their no because we don't know if it's true or not. And then you stop trusting their yes. So, because you never know whether it's real or not. But so that's a different lecture. That's a whole different one. But again, the work you can do is state what you want and you can make a request, but only if you are willing to truly accept a no with love and kindness and compassion. If you're not willing to accept a no, don't ask the question.
Okay, so one more. To what extent is it okay to take risk and to mess up?
Oh man. That depends on who you ask. Wow.
Yeah, I assume that's framed within a relationship, not, jumping off a cliff or something.
No. I understand. I'm laughing because if you ask my boyfriend, he would say, take all the risks all the time. It's okay. And I am not that person. So there's a concept that I use in my work that when we talk with groups particularly, where we say green, yellow, red. And when we're doing this kind of work, when I'm coaching somebody, if they're what we call in green, that means everything's fine, everything's okay, we can keep talking. I'm not talking about anything that is triggering or making me feel upset. It's good, we can keep going. Yellow means, okay, we've hit on something that is a little uncomfortable, and I'm, know that I need to work on this, and I'm a little hesitant to do it, but we can go. It's okay. If any person has gone into red, usually they don't even know it, because once you've gone into red, it means that you are way outside of where you can think. You are in a place of generally pure emotion. So to answer that question, I would say do some exploration around your risk of being in yellow. Because yellow is the place where we grow. We don't grow when we're in green because we have no reason to change anything. Everything's great and lovely and wonderful. We have no reason to change anything. When we're in yellow, it's really kind of stretching our bubble a little bit. We want to push against it. It'll stretch out a little bit, and we can go back to where we're comfortable. So as far as risk goes, it really just depends on where is your limit, where is your yellow. And I encourage you to find that and push on that a little bit. But if you find that you've gone too far, then you know a boundary. Again, we're talking relationship. It's messy. It hurts. But I also believe that, for the most part, we heal. Our bodies are great at healing. That's what I always tell my kids when they were younger. They'd get hurt, and I'd be like, you're going to heal. You'll be all right. Some healings take longer than others. Of course, I didn't want them to jump 30 feet from a tree. We don't want them to get hurt that badly, but they can scrape their knees climbing the trees and it's okay. It's all right. So I would encourage you to explore that as far as your risk is concerned. And again, it takes time, and it does take going beyond that limit sometimes. And find yourself a good friend that you can talk to when that happens. Do you feel it's okay to lie when someone is lying to you just for fun? Do you know you're lying to each other? I mean, sure, a lying game, I guess. Like, I don't tend to like to play those games when, like, if the other person isn't playing, like cognitively playing. If we don't both know the rules, then that feels icky to me. I would much rather, if I know someone's lying to me, I'll ask them, again, because I don't know until they say it. I would much rather have a conversation with them, say, hey, I have a story, you're lying to me. And, sure, you can have a game of lying to each other. I'm not quite sure what the context of that is. For me personally, yeah, I don't play those sorts of things, those games, because it's revengey in a way. And that, yeah, again, just not what lying can be a defense mechanism as well. And in this place, where I'm trying not to be defensive, I'm trying to be open, lying can be used as a defense mechanism. Okay, we are at our time. There is a feedback form, a link to a feedback form in the chat, close to the end. So we're asking, copy and paste that, or we're going to keep the room open for discussion and more questions. So that chat will be available so you guys can do that. I'll turn it back over to Abhijit and he can tell you whatever we're going to be doing. Yeah. Go for it.
Thank you, Kari Lynn. The one thing that really stood out for me is when we are in the yellow, we have the most growth.
Yes.
I think I'll keep that in mind forever.
Yeah.
And also that I will always be open for a dialogue or a conversation, because when we sit down or we have a different form of conversation, there's a chance we can heal and connect.
Yes.
So thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming. Please join us again on August 6th. We have another TLI Series workshop. It's called as The Rhythm of English by Sheila Lebedenko. August 6th, 6 p.m., same time. Thank you so much for joining us today.